Hey guys, it's Natalie. Once again, my dogs are out, so sorry if you hear some barking. But this is a video that I have talked about in my last two vlogs that I've been wanting to do, kind of in its own separate video just because there's so much that goes into this feeling. So I really wanted to make an entire video on its own to talk about this. So pretty much this video is going to be just about the emotions that came with my miscarriages and just the feelings that have come along with struggling to get pregnant and not being able to hold my pregnancies and just everything that comes along with that. Everyone's story is different. Everybody's feelings are going to be different. It really just depends on the person, so this is just kind of my take and how I felt. But for me, I know that my whole life, as a teenager and everything like that, of course, there were the teen pregnancies in high school and shows like 16 and Pregnant came out and all of this stuff. And I guess just from that, I always assumed like, oh, getting pregnant isn't that difficult. And I know that my mom had talked about how with my brother and I both that she'd gotten pregnant pretty, soon after they started trying. And I just, I was thinking to myself, I always figured that once I wanted to start a family, I could. My best friend and the person that was my maid of honor in my wedding had a daughter, and around the time that we started trying, that we did, she got pregnant her second cycle with their son. So and then everyone around me was getting pregnant, and they were all getting pregnant their first try, second try. I didn't know anyone that it took longer than 2 tries to get pregnant. So, and at the time that we started trying, I was 23 years old. So I was thinking to myself, there's no reason that I'm not going to get pregnant right away. I've always had very regular cycles. I have always been able to tell when I ovulate just from how I feel. I've always been very in tune with my body. So I was like, there's no reason not to. Almost a year prior to when we first started trying, I had gone to a preconception appointment and everything was good. August 2017, I went off of birth control because I'd been on the pill for so long. I wanted to give my body a chance to just kind of get itself back together. And I don't know, I always figured it would be very easy because I learned how to do the ovulation test and everything those 2 months. 3 months, I guess, before we actually started trying, because we officially started trying like end of November, early December 2017, even though we had been planning for it for a long time before then, because Chip and I both knew that we wanted to have kids pretty soon after we got married, which was July 2017. But anyway, so I remember that first month when we started trying, I was like, oh yeah, I'm pregnant, like obviously, and I even could see on a blue dye test, which I've now learned blue dye tests are not very reliable. I even saw like the faintest line and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. And that month that it ended up, a few days later, I realized that we weren't. It was devastating for the both of us just because it felt so real during that time. Like I really, really thought I was pregnant, but I was like, it took my best friend 2 months, 2 cycles. It shouldn't be a problem. I'll get pregnant this next cycle. That month passed and nothing. And then another and another. And I was doing some research just, and obviously different types of things that could inhibit conception. And I'm not going to say the medication because I don't want anyone that they or their spouse is on the medication to go off of it without their doctor's guidance. But I found out that a pretty common medication can cause temporary infertility in up to like 90% of men that take it. And so I was like, oh my gosh, maybe that's what it is, because I knew I was ovulating. I knew the timing for everything was right. And after, 4 or 5 months, I was like, maybe this is what this problem is. But what we did know was that it takes about 72 days for sperm to regenerate. So those next 3 months, obviously there was nothing. But all of a sudden, end of April, I found out I was pregnant. And I mean, I was over the moon. And I had, I'd heard that with miscarriages that there's like a 1 in 4 chance of having a miscarriage. And so I was very worried about that, and I was preparing myself for it, because even from the beginning of that pregnancy, I knew from just testing my progression with pregnancy tests and watching the lines get darker every day that they really weren't progressing that much. I was in a panic. I had actually gone to my primary care physician for a blood draw and everything, just trying to figure out why. But I didn't hear back about my blood draw levels until Sunday. I'd gotten them drawn on a Thursday and then on Sunday, but it was because I was in the hospital because I had started bleeding, and my levels at 5.5 weeks had only gone in like a 4-day period from 25 to 47. So that was from the very beginning not going to be a viable pregnancy. And that miscarriage for me, that one was a lot of grief and sadness. I felt I was very devastated. I couldn't believe that after 7 months, 6 months of trying, probably it was about 6 cycles, that I ended up losing what I felt like it was our chance. And that was really hard. And I took like 10 days off of work. I didn't want to leave the house. I didn't want to see the people, because from the very beginning we told everybody. We just didn't announce it like on social media or anything, but we had told everybody. We had told family, friends, everybody, my coworkers, his coworkers. And when we lost that, it was like I didn't want to see anybody. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want to I didn't want to. I finally, after about a week and a half, started making baby steps to where I went out to like a restaurant that a lot of our friends work at and talked to them. And, then I slowly made my way back into work. But with that one, it was a lot of grief, and I had a lot of mourning for that one. With my second, because after that first, I had my post-miscarriage doctor's appointment. And she said, you know what, like, you were not even 6 weeks, you were very early, you can go ahead and try again now if you want to. And so of course we did. And I remember I had taken a test like 2 days before the one I'm about to talk about, and it was negative. And I was heartbroken. I was like, man, like, I can't believe, I mean, I always heard you were more fertile after a miscarriage, so, I can't believe it. And then like 2 days later, I took another one morning, and I had actually set it over to the side in my bathroom, because I was like, I don't even want to look at it. I just want to know that it's negative so that I can move on and just wait for my period to start. And then I looked at it, and it was positive. Like, it had like the faintest line, but it was there, and I was like over the moon. And I felt really good about that one. I really did. My tests were doubling. My levels had doubled from the blood draw that I had had. I just felt really good about it. And, I was like, 1 in 4 women have a miscarriage, and especially your first pregnancy, a lot of women have a miscarriage. With this second one, it'll be fine. And I was still progressing, tracking my progression with tests. And one morning I realized that the line looked a lot lighter than the one from the day or two before. And I immediately was like, this cannot be happening again. And I ended up going to my doctor that day, getting a blood draw, and my levels had dropped. And with that one, I was very irritated. I was very angry about that one. I felt really defeated, and it was that limbo, because most places won't refer you to a specialist unless you've had 3. So they were like, well, this both could have been a fluke, this could have been, we just have to see. And I was really frustrated, because I was like, I don't want to have to go through another one. I didn't. But I knew that there was nothing I could do. And that one, my third miscarriage, I'm actually in a minute going to stop this one and talk about that one completely on its own, because that one is such a bizarre and crazy story that I can't just do it all in one video. But that one, I found out I was going to lose the baby before I actually did. And I was earlier that one, I was about 5 weeks. And I was earlier than I was with my first. And I was just so irritated. And I remember Chip and I went out that night, and this is so bad, but like we just drank, and it was terrible. But I mean, and I just was so angry, and I was so mad, and I felt so defeated, and I felt like my body had failed me. And this is where I'm going to stop this one, because now I'm going to go into my third, which kind of deserves a whole video on its own. So be sure to look on the next one that I'm about to make, and I'll see you guys in a second.